You come here. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! I sat here, I listened to you. I sat here, I listened to you talking nonsense. Listen, it's your time to listen. Sit down and listen, young man. Or get out! Or get out!
Why is Police Minister Bheki Cele so angry? Well, joining me to discuss is the man who ruffled his feathers, Ian Cameron of Action Society. Ian, welcome to the CRA. Could you tell our audience what transpired on Tuesday? Why did you get such a vehement reaction from the Police Minister?
Yeah, thanks, David. It obviously didn't want it to end that way. I attended yesterday's session in Gugulethu because Action Society represents several people in that community that have lost loved ones because of gender-based violence, so people that have been murdered, raped, etc. And when we heard that Bheki Cele would be having a community engagement, we thought it a good idea to attend, just because it seems that these sessions have happened so many times with the same issues being mentioned every single time, and it doesn't seem like solutions are being brought forward by the minister, even though the community has offered or proposed several solutions before. That's why we attended, and obviously from what you've seen all over the media and social media, Cele didn't receive our comment too well.
All right, well, I think that hostile reaction that you got from the minister perhaps speaks to a lack of confidence in his own authority. Any kind of challenge to his power is seen as a threat. But meanwhile, people are dying, being raped in these communities, and crime is running rampant. What is the extent of the problem there, Ian, and what is Action Society doing to try and push back the tide of criminality that's sweeping through the Western Cape?
Oh, well, basically, you know, if we consider crime in general in South Africa, 67 people are murdered per day. So 67 will be murdered today, 67 will be murdered tomorrow. Have about between 120, 150 rapes reported per day. And remember that only 1 in 9 rapes are actually reported. So we've got a crime pandemic and a gender-based violence pandemic in South Africa. And I think it's a very serious cause for concern. What's going on in places like Gugulethu, Khayelitsha, and the Cape Flats? Well, between Khayelitsha and Gugulethu, more than 50 people, almost 60 people have been shot and killed in mass shootings just since the end of 2021. Obviously alarming rates that we're seeing there. And just the other day, whilst myself and 2 of my colleagues were visiting a family of a female victim, namely Nosipiwe James, that was stabbed in the beginning of May of 2022. Upon driving back, someone was shot dead literally 2 minutes before we passed the scene. And when I got out and I spoke to some of the police sitting in their vehicles, one of the law enforcement members from the municipality just said to me, it's rife. They don't have hope and they don't trust the SAPS members on the ground. So there's a clear divide between law enforcement and SAPS. And what's sad about this is that there really are good cops out there. And for what we saw from Cele's behavior on Tuesday, it was shocking to see how he has actually politicized the police, whilst the police could actually be helping people. I mean, he had 30, 40 cops standing around yesterday. He had a 6-car motorcade that brought him into Gugulethu. He had bodyguards all over the place. But yet, less than 10 minutes drive away, some 2 female victims were hijacked whilst he was making a speech about his so-called police success.
All right. Well, there's clearly a failure of leadership here, Ian. What about the politics? Why has the SAPS leadership failed so abjectly to deal with the rampant crime problem in South Africa? Do you think that perhaps this reaction from Minister Cele suggests that his power is being eroded and he's losing his grip on the police?
I think he's never had a grip on the police. I think South African police service is in complete disarray because of cadre deployment. In the past 20 years, we haven't had one national commissioner that hasn't been somehow linked to corruption, apart from someone like Lucky Mkunazi, who's now the provincial commissioner in KZN and is, I believe, doing the best he can with limited resources. We haven't had many very good career officials coming forward unless they were well connected to political elite within the ruling party, namely the ANC. So I don't think they've done that well. If we consider someone like Bheki Cele disbanded specialized units, they still haven't been re-implemented. The supposed rag and tag effort about the anti-gang unit in the Western Cape just goes to show the lack of seriousness when it comes to handling these very, very horrific and violent crime situations. The last National Commissioner, General Setole, again connected to several corrupt or suspicious activities. And if we look at the current new National Commissioner, career official, actually has a pretty good track record, but has to retire in February of 2023. So what's the point of appointing him then? What can he do in less than a year? So I don't think Cele has ever had a grip. I don't think we've had a Minister of Police that really knew what they were doing over the past decade, from Nathi Mteta, Nathi Nhleko, Fikile Mbalula. All of them have been shadowed by some kind of corrupt dealings or suspicious activities. And we can't expect SAPS on ground level to function properly when you've got corrupt politicians, or rather politicians choosing political ideology above the fight against crime over the people in the country.
All right, so Ian, what do you make of the reaction in the media to this incident? Do you think that this incident is being fairly represented?
I think the majority of the reactions have been very positive towards me and Action Society. So I don't think there's a general issue. I've seen some of the comments that I should have spoken softer to the minister, but I don't agree. I don't see him standing there seeing a body of someone that was assassinated at point blank and police members not getting out of their vehicles. I don't see him walking the streets with people that literally walk through sewage whilst they patrol because of lack of police support. And these are elderly ladies often that walk the streets at night in many of these very dangerous areas. So the race thing, I'm not even going to get involved in it. If they want to accuse me of something like that, come walk a day in my shoes before you judge me because of my skin color. So I believe it's completely irrelevant to me. It's about the 150 rapes per day, 67 people getting murdered per day. And if Cele really took this seriously, why didn't he have the Department of Justice there? Why didn't they come and give some feedback about the supposed successful conviction rates that SAPS and the NPA work together for? Because, for example, rape in South Africa, sexual offences, has less than a 5% successful conviction rate, and so the list goes on. So no, I'm not gonna bother too much with the criticism about how I spoke to Cele. I also believe it's important that we not put ministers on pedestals. They are elected public officials, certainly not one that I voted for, but they are public servants. And I think it's important that their respect mustn't be demanded, but that they must earn it. And Cele has certainly not earned his respect. He is known for speaking down to people. He was very rude to some of the neighborhood watch members yesterday that were there. He was also very derogatory towards some of the local law enforcement members. So I found that despicable, because they literally put their lives on the line, often unarmed, without protection, whilst he walks around with bodyguards and has a whole armed motorcade protecting him whilst he travels through the country.
Yeah, and I think some of the racial criticism has actually been very unfair, because here you have yourself, you're going into these affected communities. What is the government doing to really protect Black communities in these areas who are vulnerable to crime? All right, well, Ian, just a final closing word from you. Action Society, very important NGO doing critical work. How can people support your initiatives?
I would like to ask people to visit our website. They can join Action Society there, become an active member, make a contribution to the work that we do. And please share the message. We're not going to sit back. We're not going to back down. I don't think we're going to, I know we're not going to keep quiet, and we will be definitely taking this further. We'll also carry on attending these meetings.
Ian Cameron, thank you very much. Let's hand over to you, our audience. Why do you think that Bheki Cele was so upset? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed this analysis, you might want to check out this video over here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. My name is David Ansara. Until next time, take care.